Ladies and gentlemen, we are live from the Isle of Man in the UK. This is John and Mike's MMA Corner.
So we'll say festive greetings, Ricardo Lamas. Thank you for coming on to chat with us. We'll say festive greetings because it's more politically correct, Mike, isn't it? You see.
Well, I'm none of them, so I'm none of the above.
You're not correct in any way. No, you're not. No. But Ricardo Lamas, it's coming to the end of the year 2015. We thought we'd chat about what's happened and what's going to happen in 2016 with yourself. But at the current stage, the most important question is, have you got all your presents?
Yes, I actually just bought the last present about a half hour ago. I'm done. I just have to wrap a couple things, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And have you seen Star Wars yet?
I have not. One of my brothers is a huge Star Wars fan. He's seen it, so he wants to go see it again, and he's trying to find a weekend where we can all go together. But I heard it was really good. Yeah,
did you know that? No, I won't say it. Yeah. I haven't seen it yet, but I couldn't help but find out what the twists and turns were, so I went on Google and cheated.
Oh yeah, couldn't help but find you.
Yeah, it's you know when there's a big fight on, but you can't see it because you're working or something like that, and you think to yourself, well, I'll watch it recorded and I won't listen to the results, and then you end up doing the play-by-play on the sites anyway. It's a bit like that.
Yeah. You can't go on the internet for a second if you're waiting to watch fights or something like that, because people send out spoilers all the time.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. People are a little fuckers.
Yeah. I'm not saying that I ever happen to go on Fight Pass or anything like that when I'm at work.
Well, that's the problem I was going to say. It's when the fights are on, you kind of think to yourself, even though, because we're in the UK, and obviously the fights run at silly hours, I cannot avoid social media. I will have to wake up whatever time and find out the results. It's like I'm a heroin addict. I can't miss out. I have to know then. I can't wait till
you're homeless.
And I'm homeless and I'm a heroin addict, which helps. But I can't help but want to find out. You know, it's one of those things. I think
you can't find out 10 minutes later. You have to find out now. You know what I mean? If it's happened, you have to know. You know, which is great about it. You know.
So, are you a bit of a fan, Ricardo, when it comes to when you're not fighting, when you're not in fight camp, so to speak, when you've not got some your goal set on a target to kill someone? Do you fall into that kind of fanboy kind of chill out, watch the fights in the evening?
Definitely, yeah. It's funny because when I do have a fight coming up, I don't like to watch fights because in my free time I like to take my mind off of it because I'm thinking about fighting 24/7. I'm thinking about my opponent all the time. So when I'm in fight camp, I try and stay away from watching fights. But definitely when I don't have a fight lined up, I definitely love to hang out with my friends and watch the fights just like any other fan.
So 2015 has been a pretty good year for watching fights, not just with the UFC, but just in general. Anyway, it's been all around the world,
and especially in the 145s.
So
there's been a lot of movement.
There's been a bit of movement. But for you, Ricardo, how do you feel your year has went personally? Obviously, your end of year from the start of the year to the end of the year. How do you feel when you look back at the year gone?
It was. I had some ups and downs this year. My fight against Chad Mendes didn't, yield the results that I wanted, but I bounced back with a good performance against Diego Sanchez. So definitely ups and downs, but it's part of the sport, and you have to take it in stride and really learn from those downs and really enjoy those ups that you have. So I'm coming off a good win, and I'm glad I get to spend the holiday with my family now, kind of worry-free. I don't have to worry about training for a fight right now, and just relax and enjoy my family.
Now, what I liked about the Diego Sanchez fight was the actual time period you had off from the Chad Mendes fight. You were very... I don't know if that was because you chose to have that time off, but I thought that was what helped you out a lot more.
Smart.
Very smart decision. Like some fighters, they feel that they need to get back in there straight away to kind of rectify it. And I'm always one of them guys. I know people have got to pay bills, but I'm thinking if you've had any TKO or any knockout incident, you need to go and take an extended break. Let everything come back, fully 100% and then get back in there. Was that a choice? Was it?
Normally I don't look to jump right back in the cage immediately. You definitely need some time off. But that much time I actually took off because my wife was pregnant. I had fought in April. She was due in June. So I really spent those couple of months just getting the house and getting my life ready for my son that was coming. He was born June 22nd, so that's why I had to take so much time off. I just kind of had to make that change in my life and get ready for a child and make that change into being a father. And, it was definitely a lot of work that I needed to put a lot of time into. So that was the reason for the lengthy layoff.
I suppose having a child makes MMA a hell of a lot easier, really, in comparison.
Right, yeah, it does. The toughest job in the world is taking care of a kid, man. He keeps me on my toes 24/7.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's no off period with that one.
No, there is no off time with that now. So Diego Sanchez came down to 145, and everyone was super curious about how he would perform.
Looked good.
He did look good, and I think that was a great testament for you as well to come back, because I think Diego Sanchez is one of them guys who people can get sucked into Diego's game, and that's a huge thing about him. It's almost like the Diaz brothers, where you can get enticed to what they want you to do, and you did a very smart, very efficient performance, and that's what I was very impressed with myself. Anyway, I don't know how you were, Mike.
Yeah. I thought it was very good that you stuck to your own game rather than get suckered into
the Sanchez brawl.
Yeah, which looks amazing on telly.
Yes, when you're not fighting him.
Sometimes he ends up on top. But no, so well done on that one.
Yeah, that was something that I anticipated going in. I've been a fan of Diego for a long time. The guy is a warrior. He's a great fighter. And who doesn't like to watch his fights? They're always exciting. That guy could be bleeding from every hole in his body, and he'll still keep coming forward and attacking his opponent. And I knew that it was going to be like that. I knew that he was going to try and kind of wave me into a bar fight. But I just prepared mentally. I'm pretty strong mentally. A lot of guys would get taken out of their game. Like you saw Michael Johnson against Nate Diaz last weekend. Mm-hmm. Nate started with the trash talking, and you could tell that it affected Michael Johnson's performance. He got sucked into that whole game, and Nate got into his head. I'm pretty, very strong mentally, and it's hard to take me out of my game. So for me, it was just a matter of staying calm and not getting dragged into a bar fight, and I knew that if I stayed technical that I'd walk away with the victory. And, a part of me still wanted that we did have some great exchanges in there and giving the fans what they wanted to see. But I felt like I was being pinpoint and precise, and that's also a great style of fighting to watch, is watch someone. It's almost like an art form when you can fight that way.
Demetrius Johnson, I like to say, is probably the perfect example of he comes in, he does what he wants to, and gets out, and then someone's punching thin air after him. He is a masterclass to watch.
You're catching dust and smoke, aren't you?
Yeah, that's to me that's awesome to watch, because that person has mastered that style of fighting, and it's beautiful when you watch it.
Now this year has been. You could say the year of the 145 division.
And
obviously due to your friend, one of your closest pals, I'm sure you're always chatting away to each other every other day, in the shape of Conor McGregor. It must be. It's one of them ones where it's obviously you look at him and you see he's winning the fights, he's getting paid, and you guys are like, come on, this is killing me. Like we've been throwing ourselves in there and we should be getting paid a bit more. But then again, he's put the spotlight on you all as well, a bit more than there was beforehand. In a way, does it gripe you a little bit to say that? Would you say that you're thankful in a way for what he's done?
I wouldn't go as far as thanking anybody in my weight division. I see all these guys as opponents, rivals, and especially a guy like Conor McGregor, where we've had a past of talking bad about each other. No, there's no thinking there. There's only a wish of punching him in his mouth. And you know, he did a great job. He's been doing a great job in his career with what he's been doing. He did a great job against Aldo. But I've been asking for that fight since before he started getting all this crazy money pay. You know, I'm not looking for a payday. I'm just looking to punch the guy in the mouth. So he's at the top of the division right now, and eventually I'll get there.
Yes, there was a remarkable, beautiful video made. I do recall. Yes. That is something that comes to mind. But yeah, he's one of them ones that, like, for example, he's now getting attention from the 155 is obviously, but you got 3 guys calling him out on the weekend just gone. So, and you're wanting a bite of him as well. It must be a list of people that want him. It must be a nightmare trying to get your name to the top.
What I was going to say was the weekend before that, when the actual fights were on, you had the 3 fights back to back. The amount of 145ers that were actually in there, they were actually a high percentage of the entire fights that week. You know, they pretty much, like, if you added up, you know, all the weight divisions, 145s, there was more of them fighting.
Yeah. But
and it was pretty much all of the top contenders at 145 that were fighting that weekend. It was, you know, Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira was this past weekend, but Max Holloway, Mendez Edgar, you know, those are the top 4 guys in the division right now.
Well, Oliveira's a lightweight because he can't make.
He can't make anything.
Oliveira's a featherweight. Well, yeah, he missed weight, but he's supposed to be a featherweight.
Yeah,
who was it that had the £1.5 pants?
It wasn't Danny Castillo. It was.
It was the one I thought Nate.
CB
Dollaway.
Yeah.
CB Dollaway.
He's
got some. Them Reebok pants are
heavy. They're heavy. 1.5
Maybe
pounds.
he was nervous. Maybe they were damp.
I guess so. Oliveira looked really surprised when he was like more than 2 kilos overweight. I'm like, how is that a surprise to you?
Yeah.
It baffles. I can understand maybe a half a pound, you know, but he was 4 or 5 pounds overweight. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's done it. That's the thing. It's not like he's not done it before.
No, it's about the 3rd time.
Yeah, it's the 3rd time. Yeah. You think to yourself, I remember Kelvin Gastelum got put up because of it. You know, I think if you're going to miss it, you have to go maybe for one fight, not as a punishment, but as a look. You're not making the weight right. You need a bit of time to go and sort yourself out. You have to fight at 155, then you can come back down if you can sort yourself out. You know, prove to us you're going to get nutritionists or whatever you're going to get. You know, Kelvin sorted himself out.
If you miss weight one time, you should have to go up to the next weight class. I've been a wrestler since I was 14 years old. Since that time, since I ever started wrestling, and through wrestling and through fighting, I've never missed weight one time in my life. You know, you have to be a professional, especially if you're a professional in this sport. I mean, come on, man. We're doing this for a living. Your only job is to train and make sure your weight's under control. If you miss weight once, you should have to go up to the next weight class.
Well, did you hear about the recent kind of weight summit meeting, so to speak? It was the California Athletic State Commission was saying about the implementing new weight classes. They were talking about guys not being able to cut down so much. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, I was actually just reading something. I think it all started from the one fighter in ONE FC that passed away from cutting weight. And now I think, ONE FC is now implementing some new rules as far as weigh-in.
Yep.
And, you know, I think they're going from there. You know, a similar thing happened over here in the U.S. when I was in college wrestling. There were 3 different wrestlers who passed away from cutting weight. So they implemented all these new rules, and I think that they should be implemented too into professional fighting. You know, like at the beginning of our wrestling season, we had to get a fat test, we had to get a hydration test, and then based on that, they told us what the lowest weight was that we can cut to. You know, that would still be healthy for us in our bodies. Also, we weighed in the same day. You know, as that when we wrestled, so. It wasn't night before weigh-ins and then you wrestled the next day. It was literally an hour before competition. We weighed in, and then we had an hour to, you know, rehydrate the little weight that we had to cut, and then we wrestled. I wouldn't be opposed to doing that with fighting. I think it'd be a lot safer for all the fighters, and you wouldn't hear of anybody dying from cutting weight. That's real bad.
Well, yeah. I was going to say the BJJ. You do sometimes see the scales at the side of the mats, don't you? and they literally stand on the scales and walk on the mat. You know.
Yeah, and they even have to weigh in with their gis on too. So that's an extra at least couple pounds right there.
Exactly.
Now you said about ONE FC, what they're trying to implement, is the walking around weight. And we spoke to Luis Gordano, who's a weight management guy. He's taken over Aljamain Sterling and Eddie Gordon.
Johnny Hendricks.
Johnny Hendricks as well. He's taken over Johnny Hendricks, that's it, yeah. And what he was talking about with them was saying, when the guys cut to their weight class, so let's say Aljamain, he says Aljamain cuts down to 135. He said, but his optimal weight, when his peak performance is not that weight. He performs around 140 something. I can't remember what the exact figure is off the top of my head. But so let's say 145. Let's say he cuts to 135. He performs. His coaches have said his best weight that he walks and performs at is 145. So what Lewis said is, after they've weighed in, he will get him to walk around at 145 then. So when he steps into the cage, he's 145. He's at his optimal peak. So ONE FC, it seems, are trying to get guys, they're going to do the measurements all year round, monitor their weight, so that when they compete, they're at their walking weight, their optimal weight, which I think is a lot, like you say, it's a smarter idea, it's a healthier idea. My worry with the same day weigh-in is that you are going to get Tom, Dick or Harry who's going to take that risk, and they're going to want to step in by cutting.
Yeah, and they're going to be dehydrated on the day.
If they're dehydrated, it's not... With wrestling, they're not getting strikes to the head now. To be fair, there's some absolutely beautiful slams it'll take down.
Yeah, I was going to say, you might get dropped in your head a bit, but...
with that worry of the combats, the strikes to the head is the worry that's what causes the kind of dangers.
Yeah,
and
you're not getting a shin
injuries.
for the chin or anything. Yeah.
No, you're not. So I think what they've said in California is they talked about implementing, it sounds crazy, weighing in 3 days before, but then you have time, because doctors have said it takes more than 24 hours to fully hydrate. So you would weigh in 3 days, you have to hydrate till you fight, but you can't go over X amount on your weight, which I think is a bit of a fuzzy part of that, but I like the fact that it's being talked about and people are looking to act on it.
People are going into the fight healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I think no matter what rules they implement, we'll see, if you can't weigh over a certain amount, I think we'll still see guys passing that amount. I think the best way is to have these tests done, like what we did in college with the fat test. You can only drop to a certain level of body fat percent. And what they did was, when they told us how low we can cut, as soon as we made the drop to that weight class, we also had to take a hydration test right after we weighed in to make sure that we were fully hydrated at that weight. So, there are a lot of things that they can do, and I'm all for it. I'd go up a weight class. I'd go up to 155. The thing is we need to have a rule so that everybody's on the same page, as far as the weigh-ins go.
Yeah, because I did hear that Cowboy was given IV last weekend.
Right.
I believe.
Yeah, that's because I guess he was involved in, how he does all those extreme sports. He was involved in an accident, and they had to remove part of his stomach. So, because of the size that was left of his stomach, it's so much smaller than everybody else's that it's harder for him to hydrate orally.
Right.
So that's why they allowed him to have the IV.
Yeah,
but there was somebody else as well, wasn't it? I think there was two at the weekend that had.
Yeah, it starts to get a bit sketchy. But I've already said my kind of theory on that, the IVs. And I think they should be doing that. I think that they should. I spoke about Ricardo before. I said what they should do is, if you want to have an IV, it's your choice to have an IV, but the UFC provides you with an IV, and what they have at the back behind the weigh-ins is a blue corner, a red corner room with doctors or nurses or whatever you need who administrate it to you. They note down what you've had, and then that's it then. But they take your bloods before so that the tests can't come back all skew with.
Yeah, you're not hiding with your IV.
I think that would be a safer way. Then you know what everyone's having. Then there's no way of, let's say, fuckery, basically.
Yeah.
I've preached that, but it's who knows what will happen in the future. But let's talk about more fun things. like I say, 2015's happened. Ricardo, is there any fights in your eyes that stood out? What this year? What your fights aren't allowed? You can't count anything that you've done, right? You have to be unbiased. What fights have you really enjoyed this year? Is there any moments that you just kind of stick in your brain? Any fights?
Yeah, just recently, I think one fight that happened that was great and that was overshadowed was Luke Rockhold against Chris Weidman. I think that Connor stole a lot of the light from that event, and unfortunately, a new champ was crowned in the middleweight division, and I don't think it's gotten as much exposure as it deserves. Chris Weidman was a great champion. He beat literally the greatest fighter that the sport has seen in Anderson Silva, and then Luke Rockhold came and dominated Chris Weidman. That was something that really stuck out in my head, and I don't think it got enough credit as it deserved.
Yeah, I was going to say, the thing, I mean, I was fortunate enough to be live at that event, and I remember Chris Weidman doing the kick, and it just looking quite pitiful at the time, and then everything just went doubly wrong from there, and thinking to myself, he's not going to throw that kick again ever in his life. Doesn't matter what he does,
No.
Even drunk on a stag do, he's not going to throw that kick.
Yeah, and like you said, Ricardo, Weidman was the man who stopped Anderson twice.
Made it look easy.
Yeah, he stopped
Made it look
Anderson
easy.
twice.
Yeah.
Vitor. Well, but the
right.
thing is, it's not the peak Vitor, is it?
He kind of grabbed him, threw him to the floor,
Yeah.
pinned him down, and just
as
unloaded on him.
much as I didn't like what Vitor was doing, I did enjoy watching juiced up to the gills Vitor Belfort. That was one hell of a guy to watch. You kind of
Yeah,
think,
it reminded me of the old Vitor Belfort when he was 19 years old on,
Yes.
blasting through everybody in the
yes,
UFC.
Yeah, tank.
yes, walk around like a light heavyweight with no neck, just traps and a head.
Yeah.
Yes, oh,
Yeah.
He was like a He-Man figure, and
I miss.
yeah,
I miss
blitzing Tank Abbott,
and Vanderlei.
Yeah,
That was awesome.
Well,
That
he blitzed loads, but
yeah,
but that was back in the day when probably everyone was juiced.
What? Are you trying to say that Kevin Randleman was not eating?
Okay, maybe
chicken
not
and
him.
veg?
Maybe not him.
Kevin Randleman. What are you trying to say? God.
Mr. Universe, like
Yeah. What are you trying to imply? That fight, you say, he stopped Lyoto Machida in a hell of... Well, he didn't stop Lyoto, sorry. He had a war with Machida, and he had some great fights, but then, like, say, Rockhold just came around, and... Now, that fight should have been stopped in the third round.
Oh yeah,
That's the
I agree
one...
with that.
One little thing you think to
Yeah,
yourself, Herb, we love you, Herb. I love you to death, mate. But that was one little hiccup.
yeah. I
One
think he
little
was
hiccup.
enjoying watching that fight too much.
I think he must have been like, dude is getting smashed.
Yeah,
Ding
somebody,
ding.
somebody
Oh,
should stop this shit.
But no, yeah. But that's the other thing. That weekend you had that week you had Tony Ferguson
it
and
was
Edson
crazy.
Barboza.
It was a crazy week, I tell you. That was.
That was another great fight.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, going under the radar.
Tony Ferguson fight. Tony Ferguson is that guy's a monster, man. He puts constant pressure on his opponent. He breaks his opponents with his pressure.
Yes,
It's crazy.
and it's the variety of
He-
attacks that he comes at people with. I think that's what's so beautiful about him is that he doesn't have a rhythm.
Yeah.
The only rhythm he has
You
is that
can't
he comes
read him. You can't read him.
Well, you know he's going to come forward. That's the only thing you know. The problem is you don't know what the hell he's going to do. When he kept going for those leg locks, those knee bars on Edson, I thought that was fantastic.
yeah.
He mixes it up really well.
And then you got to look at during the course of the year
Oh
itself.
well, we had Holly Holm knocking out Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, like
You know.
holy crap.
I mean, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you had bets on it or anything. No one had Ronda Rousey losing that fight. No one. Yes, I know people made money on that fight, but they didn't think they were going to win. So yeah, it's
12 to 1.
Yeah, 12 to 1.
1
Crazy
underdog
odds.
was.
yeah, and to be honest, it only ended up. I mean, it was wider than that. It was only because people threw money at it because it was so good.
The odds were changing.
It wasn't because people thought that she had a chance. And we look at it now, and now people are saying with the return that Ronda Rousey doesn't stand a chance.
Yeah, but
So-
she is.
so
she's
the
in
amount of
bookies,
switch-
in the bookies, she is the favourite still. Though Ronda is.
Yeah, but let's be honest. People that bet aren't always the ones that know. Like
Ricardo, when it comes to women's division, What do you make of, for example, like, you know, when you saw the Holly run fight, but then again you got Joanna Jacek in 115, who, even as a man of my, I'm 200 pounds, I would not want to be punched in the face by her.
Yeah, she is something else, man. She's probably my favorite female fighter to watch. She's exciting. She brings the fight to her opponents all the time, and she's fast. And you know, the term "hits like a girl" does not apply to her. You know, she throws everything with bad intentions, and she definitely does not hit like a girl.
Oh no, she doesn't. And they're beautiful. When you see her striking, you can hear it like release that anger when she's throwing strikes. And you're just sitting there going, I do not want to be any of those girls' faces.
And there's always another one behind it.
Yeah.
There's always, you know what I mean? It's never the last shot.
It's that beautiful... You know. I love the fact that she's got that beautiful jab to the stomach that she throws. Like, when she's just picking... Like, she's just breaking her opponents down after she's snuffed out all her takedown attempts. Love watching her fight. Like you say, she's so... You just think to yourself, if you give her the time, she will literally wreck your face. She'll rearrange your face for free.
Yeah, she's awesome.
I tell you what, we've had a lot of titles change hands
7,
this year.
I think it's 7 champions have changed hands this year.
So, right, so we've had the last fight of the year.
Well, in UFC.
In the UFC,
because you got Risen coming up.
Yeah. So, at the end of 2016, who do you think's still champion? Yeah, who can hold on to it for the year?
Well, I think it depends on who gets set up to fight with who. You know, it's hard to call that because you don't know what the matchups are going to be. But man, that's a tough question.
Okay. I've got it. John Jones, Daniel Cormier.
The 145 pound.
Good call. Okay, I'll go to bookies. I'll go to bookies now. Okay.
He may even go up in weight and leave it behind.
What about John Jones and Daniel Cormier? Because that's happening. Let's be honest. Everyone knows it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when and where.
I think that if I had to pick someone, I think Jones would take it. I mean, he made the first fight look fairly easy for him. You know, and he was dominating Daniel Cormier where Cormier is strongest. You know, he was taking Cormier down, and you know, that's something that I didn't think was going to happen. But John Jones just has a special way of finding ways to make good fighters look bad.
Have you seen how jacked he is at the moment as well? Have you seen it?
It looks like he's changed his medicines anyway.
Yeah, I've seen the videos. It looks like he's putting a lot of work in the weight room, and it's paying off. It looks like.
And he's saying that he's about 220 odd pounds, so he's around the same weight as he used to be, except that, you know, there was a beautiful interview that he did with Ariel Helwani on the MMAfighting.com, I think it is. You can find on there. It was a beautiful kind of openness that he came out with. You know, it was not like it wasn't like Lance Armstrong scripted kind of thing that he did with Oprah Winfrey, where he sat there and went, "Yes, I did." And it was all like, yeah, okay, mate, come on, can you just come out a bit more? John Jones, he just freely was open about it. He was saying, like, yeah, he was basically saying, I was the Chuck Liddell of the modern day. Because Chuck Liddell would go out and party like a motherfucker.
You know what, it was fun, though.
And Chuck was fun as fuck to watch as well. But...
yeah. Here's another one, then. I'll tell you another question. Now, we've seen a couple of guys...
2 trains are cut.
Yeah. We've seen a few guys testing the open market at the moment.
Yes.
So...
yeah.
What names do we think will leave the UFC by choice to another promotion?
Fucking hell, Mike. Bit heavy with this. Bit heavy, aren't we?
I know. Hey, I might not be able to get hold of him next week.
You're going balls deep with this one.
You know, that's a real good question. And there have been guys complaining about fighter pay, and they believe they should be getting paid more. Jose Aldo is one of those guys. You know, he said he's been quite vocal about how he thinks he's not getting paid fairly. But I think it's a chance that he in the future could leave. You know, I don't know where he's at in his contract. I don't know how many fights he has left, but I could see that happening for some reason, him going to another promotion.
There are a handful of guys, like you say. Overeem's just done his last fight on his contract, and to be fair, he's on
Must be. He's on mega bucks.
He's on big. Well, he was on big bucks because he signed over from Strikeforce, you see, and he was on big bucks when he signed over, and that was the contract he had. Now, I reckon he probably got offered less than what he's on now, and that's what. But then he's come and finished with a. I tell you what,
that might have saved his paydays.
That win against Junior Santos was huge, but then again, that does show you the difference between someone not eating horse meat and previously eating horse meat. When you look at what he looks like now, it's almost like a dad bod. You know that phrase they use, dad's body, like dad bod. He hits like a tank still, don't get me wrong, but he's got a dad bod, hasn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't look as filled out as he used to, but he did great against a dangerous opponent.
I've heard it's healthy bread that he's eating now.
Healthy bread, yeah. He was very calculated in his approach in that fight, and you had to be, because let's be honest, Dos Santos doesn't mess around when he throws his strikes.
It was such a quiet first round, you know.
Because the pair of them...
But I tell you,
I wouldn't want... If I was either of them, I wouldn't want to get hit by either one.
No.
I'm just going to take my time, and hopefully he slips and falls, I can jump on him.
But it was sensible. And all it took was a moment. You know?
It did. Just one moment. Perfect moment.
Yeah.
I'll just swing my left hand and hope I crack him on the chin, and he did. He did. He sent him flying. Now, I thought that was a spot-on end. Do you know why? Because it's Dos Santos as well, I didn't want that fight going any longer because he's taken a lot of hits.
Yeah, he's taken more shots than Rambo's target.
Yeah, so I was like, Dos Santos, maybe it was good that he got out there a little bit earlier, but it opens up as well now that Dos Santos isn't that number 2 guy. That he's not got that label of always being number 2.
No.
Which is always kind of stuck on him, and I'm like, I'm glad that's out of the way now.
The signs were there after he fought Miocic that all of a sudden there wasn't that gap. Yeah. You know, because he used to be like a solid number 2, and there was a gap above and a gap below. But now he's, you know, when Miocic fought him,
it's changed. It's great.
It's shortened the distance, and now it's been passed, you know, and bridged. But
yeah. Sorry, Ricardo. Have you got to shoot? Have you now?
I'm sorry.
Have you got to shoot off? Have you? It sounds like you're moving around.
No, I've got a couple more minutes. If you guys got a few more questions.
Ricardo, we've got loads of questions. Do you know what we'll do, Ricardo? Because we're nice guys. We'll wrap it up now, and we'll get you back on another time, and we'll ask you more.
That sounds great.
That's how we plan. You know, we know you've got to go and wrap up presents. It's a busy time. Ricardo, before you go though, have you got any social media sites that people could jump onto, like Twitters, Facebooks, all that stuff?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter. My handle is @Ricardo Lamas MMA. It's the same for Instagram, and then my Facebook fan page, Ricardo the Bully Lamas. Just check out and give it a like.
Super stuff. People jump on, give that man a follow. And obviously, do you want to give Reebok a shout out for being such great sponsors to you?
Yeah. Thanks, Reebok.
What sort of sneakers are you wearing right now?
No comment.
Look, Ricardo, thank you for your time, man. Have a great Christmas time with the family, with the little one. Just have an awesome time, dude.
Love it.
And you guys, thanks for having me. Just shoot me a message anytime, and we'll try to set something up in the future.
Awesome stuff.
That
Thank you very much.